in the bottom left for Kitesy Gaming. He is Solar.
In the top right, as the purple Zerg for Team Ents, he is Serral.
All right, so ZVZ, I mean, you kind of already mentioned it. It says knife fight in a phone booth on a map like Waterfall that is going to be such a cramped map. It feels like you build a sensor tower and you've covered 30% of the map, you know? Like, it feels just insane to me. So what do you think about Serral going for this pool first? I think it's a pretty good decision since he's probably going to be pretty confident against Solar.
I think it is as well, but I feel like you can only be so confident versus Solar. I mean, unless you're planning on him to have bad luck, which does seem to happen a lot to Solar. Otherwise, he is a very solid Zerg player, and I think there is still a little bit of that Korea versus the world, especially Europe rivalry when it comes to ZVZ, and who truly has the best is always in the background of these particular matchups. I just want to clarify that Waterfall actually is not the shortest map. I did the rush distance calculations, but I had Waterfall and Moon Dance. There you go. Moon Dance actually being around the same, but the map maker of Waterfall tweeted that it is the smallest map dimension-wise since Jungle Basin, but not actually the shortest map rush distance-wise. So I guess actually Moon Dance takes that title, which is quite interesting because, you know, we just don't think of Moondance as, I suppose, that short of a map since it has the backwards safe base. But yeah, just a very slight clarification because it is about a second difference between the two. Still both very small, very, very rushy.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, that was me misspeaking. I meant smallest in terms of dimensions, like since one of the smallest of all time. And that's pretty nifty. I think that's very cool. We are going to see a couple of lanes getting out here. Oh, he wants that drone. Not going to be able to get it, though. Nice save from Solar. So already a good little start right there. Good test and pass, as it were. Yeah, this is pretty reasonable. Normally, of course, we'd see that Baneling Nest in the wall. But because it's a pool first, you got to respect that your opponent could get aggressive very early, and you won't have creep up to that point. So kind of a bit of an insignificant thing, but if Serral decides to go for a Ling Flood, could potentially be significant. Unlikely to be a big deal, but it's worth mentioning.
All right, then. Well, no Ling Floods. I think they are both very much respecting the map, not just with Serral's earlier pool, but then just the third bases coming down actually after the Baneling Nest. Oh, Solar's the one going for a lot of Lings currently.
Yeah, he's got those two Lings hidden on the left side. He's going to morph in some Banes. So the quick Baneling Nest, this is like a double insurance policy. One, you give yourself the potential to just win the game straight up. And two, it also kind of covers you if your opponent's doing something aggressive. And Serral, is he going to be able to deal with this in time? He's got his own Banelings morphing on in. And there is his wall. Actually, okay, that was a little bit weird from Solar.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Huh. I mean, Serral should be fine now, yeah. Yeah, he even cancels one of the buildings there. Okay. Very comfy defense right there from Serral. That looked so easy for him.
Right? Yeah, it was. At the end of the day, that was very easy. Solar's still going to get the faster third base. He has more control over the map, but Serral did not take any damage, did not have to make quite as many Lings, although that really hasn't transferred over into a huge drone lead. And we actually have Serral going for a couple of sneaky Banelings himself. Solar making sure to get at least a scout in, and yeah, that will just actually die. There we go. Yeah, we got it. And Serral takes the third base. Found out the Banelings. Solar does a great job handling things back at home, and we move on to the next stage of ZVZ.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta be careful. Oh, they are both playing with a little bit of ping on the NA server, so you gotta be extremely mindful that you can't respond quite as quickly. Oh, kind of some coincidental splash damage right there, hitting both of the Banelings. So nice job from Serral to kind of capitalize on that a little bit, gets the kill. And Solar's got to be a little bit careful. Does he have any more Banelings? Okay, he's got one more somewhere, but this could leave the third open a little bit. Yeah, it's in the natural. This is actually kind of scary. The Banelings of Serral are going to show up, and at the very least, Serral's going to get some nice trades. Oh my god, that was extremely close. And actually, he's going to cancel both these Banes. This is getting very scary for Solar right now. Go after the drones, I think, is the correct decision.
There's
Yeah,
not
he gets
too
two.
much more coming from Serral, though. So I think for now, Solar is going to be able to be safe. What I'm really concerned about is, the follow-up. It's going to be so fast on a map like this. Serral not going to have +1 soon, but might have it for an eventual battle. More importantly, he's going to have roaches right here, right now, and they can just basically jump over to Solar's third base. Yes, the Lings are causing a bit of a scuffle. Maybe Solar can have a little bit extra time to respond to the roaches he just scouted, but I'm talking like 2 extra seconds. The roaches could go across the map. There's that many of them, and Solar does not have his own roaches. The option here is to go for as many Lings as possible, which can do the trick against roaches in the early game, but isn't exactly an ideal scenario. So if Solar could just buy a little bit of time, get his own roaches, he will have, his drone lead kind of working for him and a faster lair, but still very much behind in that +1 missile. It is actually going to finish perfectly timed to Serral's attack over into Solar's natural.
Yeah, this is actually going to make these Lings almost useless right now. They just get two-shotted. They don't even feel comfortable fighting this small number of roaches, and if they do, they're going to lose. Serral, he's droning behind us. I feel like he could have actually all-in with this, and he would have won the game. I'm like very confident in that. But he is droning out of this. He does, if he's going to do that, he needs to go straight for the third. That was a bit of a hesitation right here. I think he can maybe just kill off this third and back off. But even just getting these drones is going to put him so incredibly far ahead. Yeah. I feel like Solar, he has to all in right now to have any chance. The only advantage he's going to have is roach speed is going to be done like 30 seconds faster.
That's actually the only thing right now.
Yeah.
You might be right about it, but that is not going to be his choice. I mean, I feel like at this point it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Neither option is particularly appealing. Solar just wishes that he didn't take as much damage right there, since he had a bit of a boost in the economy. We can see it spike on the income advantage. If he hadn't been able to hold perfectly, which just on a longer map, give him an extra 7-8 seconds, give him a third base that doesn't push so far forward into your opponent's side of the map, maybe you can actually do it and not take so much damage. But now it is all of Serral dominating the income advantage and also getting up there in the army supply, continuing on with the upgrade as well. I mean, just like literally everything besides that roach speed, and that will not impact the game enough. Serral should be able to go across the map and, I don't know, kind of a move. That actually might be how drastic he is ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, he I am pretty confident that I could win this game from this point if I had the full information. Now, me, personally, I'd probably panic like crazy and, forget how to hold down the R button. But Serral's not going to forget that. The funniest thing about this whole situation, is that Serral did way less damage than he could have. He could have killed the third. He could have gone into the natural and, heavily committed for drones. I think it's much better that he saved the Roach army, but, he only got, 6 or 7 drones, and he was droning so hard behind it that it was just all good. And now, well, a little bit underwhelming, but like we said, it kind of was over after Solar wasn't able to hold that initial attack for anything, really. And Serral takes a very, very strong game number 1 victory.
Yeah. That map, I think, is going to be really obnoxious, particularly for ZVZ. I think it's actually going to be annoying in all the matchups, any of the mirror matchups, but particularly for ZVZ. That I feel like with the length of current maps, maybe has a little less just momentum will carry you to the end of the game. There's a little more stop and stall and push and pull, but on a very short map, it feels like whoever made the right decisions is going to have this tremendous lead, and we can see that Serral made the right decisions. Perhaps Solar playing a little bit too far into the Ling game, where Serral was actually prepping for the Roach game, getting a much faster +1 missile, but then just having not enough to actually defend when Serral had Roaches in general. Really made that look easy for Serral. I want to see a larger map. I want us to go into the largest map in the map pool after that and see just how different perhaps it would look with a similar scenario.
Yeah, I think things. I don't even think Serral tries that because it looked so much like an all-in. Because he didn't build a lair, he built a bunch of roaches, and it could have easily been an all-in that would have ended the game almost 100%. I don't even think he goes for that on most other maps. Now maybe Moondance, but Moondance, there's ramps that you can kind of hold on the way. Waterfall, there's nowhere. Like even the low ground position between that pocket third and the natural feels like it's an advantageous concave for the attacking player. Like Waterfall is a defender's nightmare. You know, there's defenders landing and then there's attackers flying.
Yeah. I mean, to be clear, I still think the map is well designed, despite being the shortest map that we've had. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when Jungle Basin came out, maybe 10 years ago. So we could go over that as well. But I think, again, ZVZ being the way that it is as a matchup, as basically speedlings, just that back and forth that happens in the early game, I think that is where it gets complicated. I could see why both of them let it through. But I don't know, the longer that it comes into that, the longer that map is in the map pool, so let's guess like another 6 months to a year, right? The more that Zergs might be avoiding it in ZVZ just because of how chaotic it is. And an already chaotic matchup, a matchup that a lot of Zerg players are very frustrated with, as it can feel like, I don't know, it kind of works against you, despite all the things working out, like theoretically. But let's get into game number 2. It is going to be on Data C. In the top right, we have the yellow Zerg down 1, Solar.
And his opponent spawning down on the bottom left with a pretty dominating performance in game 1 for NC Sports. It is Serral. What do you think of Serral's best nickname is, or like the best nickname for Serral? There's a few that are, you know, out there. There's the Finisher. For a little while there was the Night King.
Right.
You know, I think there's more, but I've forgotten all of them.
I've always liked the Finnish Phenom. I liked the Night King as well. Totally fine. But yeah, I guess that doesn't really work out anymore.
It doesn't work out when Game of Thrones ended the way that it did.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. You know, maybe StarCraft will continue and Serral will continue dominating, I guess, long enough for, I don't know, the new Game of Thrones series, the House of Dragons or whatever, to actually be good. Or maybe the books will come out and they'll actually have a good ending, like either option. But
oh man, I've given up on the books at this point.
I know,
it's
right?
like I'm so sad about that. Every so often I'll think about, because I there was a period of time where I reread the series like sometimes like twice a year. Like I loved it, and every single time I would get something new and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yes, season 8, I'm done. Never again.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It's actually amazing how much that was in the, I don't know if zeitgeist is the correct word, but how much that was in, and then it just disappeared. It just disappeared so hard. Like, yeah, there was a little bit of a drop off for the second to last season, and then there was the actual last season. So there wasn't just instantaneous, but in the grand scheme of things, you look back at the years of Game of Thrones, like that was pretty instant. There's never been such a phenomenon in our lives. And hopefully there won't be again, because that means that we're going to have another amazing series that ends catastrophically bad. I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that. Cute little move right here, and I've been thinking about this. I tried it on one of the maps, and it worked out kind of well for me to no avail. They both hid in their respective little, shrubberies, both pretending they were in the Little Mermaid, being little crabs, and just hiding there. And then they both went forward at the same time. So we see this little micro battle, not too much. Oh, yeah, there's that crab getting shown for just a little bit, but it's gone. It's hidden back into the sea. Yeah, so just, nothing too out of the ordinary. They're both getting a Banelin Nest. They're both getting a third hatch. This is not the kind of map where a 2-base setup is going to be really strong. I think something like Waterfall, you could definitely go for like a 2-base setup, but they're both kind of mirroring each other, getting that between, 8 to 12 lanes. That's a really important standard setup in this matchup. It allows you to go aggressive in case your opponent did some kind of greedy Evo Chamber first BS like I would do on the ladder. Also allows you to be safe against any super all-in setup. Like it's a really, really nice middle of the road, and that's why we see it pretty much every Z.
Between this and Waterfall. We do have +1 Carapace coming out from Solar, so of course you don't know what the Evolution Chamber is actually all wiggly jiggly about. Could be melee, could be missile, could be Carapace. So that is something that Serral is not going to be able to figure out right then and there. but guaranteed he will be constantly checking, constantly clicking on his units to see if there's anything a little off, and in that case it would be the Carapace, right? But it kind of comes like with the attack, so it's going to be other signs that Serral picks up on and know that he's going to be potentially in trouble from a Ling Roach hatchery based attack.
And I think that's exactly what we're going to be seeing with the speed of those two gases at the natural and the lack. Oh, actually, hang on. He's building two more gases. Okay, he might go up to like 54 drones and do like a rogue-esque type push with this. This is a pretty cool way to play. But we've got Serral actually going for. I was going to say we probably won't see this attack on another map, but it looks like he is going for a similar attack as he did. Well, no, he just builds 5 roaches. Okay, that's a little weird.
Yeah, I think he is just going for a bit of a poke. I mean, from what he's seeing right now, Solar has transferred more of his workers over to that third base to give the illusion that he has more workers than he really does. So maybe trying to punish what could be perceived as even maybe a bit of a greedier setup. Yeah. But it actually is not at all, right? We know that. We can see the natural is not saturated, and that is Serral. That is something that Serral has not been able to recheck or isn't thinking of rechecking right now, thinking of how to get farther ahead in a potentially macro-based ZVZ, and every little tiny detail can matter in a long macro game. But right now, it is all about figuring out that this is actually an attack, that he is going to have to defend. Solar is prepping for the engagement as I speak.
Yeah, no, you called it perfectly. The transferring of drones between these bases has completely bamboozled Serral, and he's got no idea what's coming. He is representing with those gases at the third, with those drones, that he is playing a macro game, or at the very least, like a big high eco all in. Oh, well, that's a nice little Bane run by, but Serral still needs to find a way to hold. And do we have anything that can deal with this? I mean, it's going to be tough. This would be an outstanding defense if he can somehow make the hold.
I think it might be possible, just maybe. Of course, Roach Speed's not going to really impact Serral if that ever does get to finish, but does the amount of army he has right here, right now, is it enough to actually buy time for reinforcements, buy time for those 2 spine crawlers to finish? Maybe is basically the only answer I can give right now, is we have Solar moving in. Corrosive Bile's not quite hitting the spine crawlers yet, not actually quite killing them, but the amount of units that would come along with the spine crawler is already dissipated. So Serral's already down 30 army supply, already pulled the drones, and there is still so much Solar left over. So no, Serral is not going to be able to make the hold happen. Solar, with a very nice all-in, is going to take game number 2.
Yeah, that was extremely well done right there from Solar. Serral took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. That was a really, really phenomenal little move. Great moves from Solar right there. We even saw Serral making more macro moves, like sneaking those Banelings in towards the base. That is absolutely okay, well, we're just droning, so I'm just going to try and kill drones with some units from the mid game. Like, I'm just, haha, Solar, I'm ahead. Look at you. And Solar just, I keep mixing up their names. Solar's just chuckling. He's like, haha, yeah, you're totally ahead. Ha, yeah, keep droning. Get more ahead. Went ahead, get more ahead, Serral. Ha, ha, ha. And, he's up, 35 army supply, and he just rolls them over. The defense from Serral was about as good as we could have seen, and it still wasn't anywhere near enough.
Right. And there's not really an option to back away from defending that third base. You lose the third base, you try and defend the natural, you're still very, very far behind, and Solar still eventually wins. So it really was, had to be right then and there, and Serral was just, 10 units too few, right? So if he had 10 less drones, then he's probably okay. With the Defender's Advantage kicking in, with the Spine Crawlers actually eventually finishing, he's probably okay. But lacking 10 Roaches, or maybe even 20 Lings, right, as long as he avoids the Banelings, it could have helped a lot, and then Defender's Advantage would kick in, Spine Crawlers would finish, but by the time all that actually was supposed to help, he'd already lost too much. So, very clever. These guys continue to poke and prod each other, but both games, I guess, still overall kind of one-sided. It's like a back and forth in the series, but not necessarily a whole lot of back and forth when it comes to the actual games.
Yeah, and we're seeing some cool features of. I mean, I guess that wasn't really Data C being anything weird, but we're already seeing the diversity of the map pool showing itself a little bit here. With, of course, Waterfall with that extremely, not just the short rush distance, but like the overall setup in defending being difficult. Serral able to get a big lead. And I'm more so thinking about this third map which is coming up, which is going to be Stargazers, and the backdoor third is obviously going to be a big factor in this matchup. Not necessarily in the game, but definitely in terms of how they've planned this map out. I'm really interested to see what they do with it.
Stargazer is, kind of our Blackburn, I suppose, of this map pool, but maybe even a little more interesting. Has so far given us quite a few good games. Another matchup. Let's see how the ZVZ ends up rolling out, since we already have something very unique. In the top left, going for a 12 pool, he is Solar.
And his opponent, can he get the read? Can he defend? It is ENCE Esports Serral. Now, the first big question we have to have on our... Well, okay, there's a couple of big questions. Is one, does Serral go pool first? And then the next big question is, does Solar elect to pull the drones? If he does... The thing is, this is like... I mean, you still... Yeah, no. In ZVZ, you still have to take the forward base. So, like, it's still normal-ish up until this point. This should just still be a normal interaction in terms of, like, 12 pool versus hatch first. But of course, Solar, if he's able to get some damage done, you can still go gasless out of this in theory, and then take 3 hatches with that backdoor third. So this is maybe this is a really good map for 12 pool. I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do. I can see it all play out before my mind, but then let's see how it actually unfolds.
Yeah.
So
Serral... in before he gets no drones, and then like Lings get surrounded and it's just over. It's like, oh well, Serral's up 6 drones. It's the game ends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Serral does like the counter attack, and Solar doesn't get his wall up. Yeah, typical things that can happen. But right, the first question is, how many drones can he get? So the assumption here with the pros is that the hatchery is going to live. The drones get pulled into it, the Lings will eventually pop, and things will be okay-ish. But when it comes to the pros, again, what damage are you looking for then? So if you can get 3 drones, I'd say you're like, okay. And anything more, the drone puller is going to be really sad about their game. So let's see what happens as Serral pulls the drones. Hatchery is already at half health. And how is the micro going to look? I'm a little concerned. That hatchery is actually already quite low.
Yeah, this is getting very scary. He's going to tunnel it. I think he's going to get it.
Oh my god, oh my god. He's going to get it. No!
Oh!
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Damn,
okay.
that was... Yeah, that's really, really bad for Serral. He must get some big counterattack damage done right now. Now, the one thing that's important to note is that there is potential for it. It's 10 Lings to 2 right now. Solar didn't trade against his opponent's Lings. And you can see, yeah, he's trying to drop a creep tumor. He wants to get, like, be able to set up that wall behind this. And Serral's going to get Ling speed. So I think he's going to all in behind this as well. At the very least, he needs to get a lot of damage done right now.
Yeah, getting a queen would be awesome. I mean, that's the step number 1, and the queen is going to go down, but only 4 Lings left over. It's not going to be very much more, but I am really concerned. Can Serral actually get damage done? By the time speed finishes, of course, Solar will have plenty of opportunity to get a wall up, which I do believe is going to be his choice, and then a third base you've been talking about. And then, you kind of get blocked out. I mean, unless you really commit and they just kind of don't expect a commitment. Yeah, Solar should be okay. So Serral... I mean, he might just try and play this one out and hope that he eventually catches up on the macro, or does a little bit of a riskier droning, and Solar does a little bit more of a safer kind of droning, right? And then it sometimes evens out. It can be weird like that, but no doubt about it, Serral was not supposed to lose that hatchery. It's not really supposed to go.
No, and that could be a little bit of the ping kind of showing up as like it's a very, very razor thin defense. So I think the theory of what Serral is doing right here is that he didn't build drones for a while after this. He elected to use all of his money to go for that third hatch and just cut drones for a while, so that in the next little bit he can go for a really, really, really big swell of production as that third hatch kicks in. Now, what he may not... So there's a couple things he could have done with this too, is if he knows that Solar scouted this, maybe he could all in with this and be like, oh, he's going to assume that I'm droning, and then he goes for a big all in and maybe catches his opponent off guard. But he doesn't know that Solar just got a sneaky scout on that with the Overlord necessarily. So it's a little bit tricky. Serral doesn't know what we know that Solar knows. Oh my goodness, and he doesn't know about this Nidus Worm.
No, that's is a little simpler, right? He doesn't know that we know that he knows.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we can really simplify is that Solar is going for a 2-base all-in. He's going for a Nidus
Yes.
Worm, and Serral does not know about that. So there's a lot more of those mind games that could have happened if this was a little bit more of 3-hatch versus 3-hatch. But okay, so he might be picking up on it, right? So there's one thing that Serral does have, which is that an Overlord in every single expansion place, right? So he knows that his opponent's taken the back base, and they haven't taken the other third base that would be available. Hell, even the fourth base is covered by an Overlord. So Serral knows that something is up, and it's either going to be a Spire or a Nidus Worm. You know, because you can only take a third base so late in ZVZ overall, and when there's a free third base, why wouldn't you take it? So I do think that, you know, with the way that you can place your Overlords on this map, this can be, in some ways, kind of obvious, and already killing one Nidus Worm is a fantastic start for Serral.
That is so incredibly huge. Solar also canceled his +1 missile, so he is full send, full commit with this. We are going to see the Nidus Worm getting pretty much denied before it can finish on up, and this gives Serral time to set up spines. So he's going to have them set up in the natural. His main base, he's only going to have to focus on one area. This has been... Oh, no, why? No!
No, because he's so confident. No, that is a wow. He is so confident that he has this held. And I think he might be right. Like, you gotta figure a Nidus Worm is going to pop up, though, so that's where it's a little sketch, is that this attack will happen. But because he's denied it already twice, he slowed it down, he figures that he can do fine. Maybe it is an underreaction. Maybe he'll regret killing that Spine Crawler.
Yeah.
3 transfuses, 4 transfuses going into the Spine Crawler does lend itself to a couple extra shots on those roaches, a couple extra roaches popping out for Serral, but even more forward Nidus Worm is coming through here. Solar determined to make the Nidus Worm work, but Serral, he's trying his best to hold on. He's got 3 bases. He's got the drone pool still in his pocket to help out. He can lose quite a lot before he's really behind in this game, and it looks like he even recognizes, I don't have the drone pool anymore. Let's just go ahead and clean this up. Roaches, Queens, the second Spine Crawler eventually coming back into play, and Serral will take game number 3 and the series to move on to the bracket.